to this Real America's Voice News Break. I'm Terrence Bates. IRS agents are being recruited to deploy to the southern border to help with border security. All of this is part of the Biden administration's multi-billion-dollar investment in the agency that the Trump administration is now trying to make sense of. The bigger question here is, how will you ultimately end up paying for all the money that's being spent on the IRS? Will they come after you in order to foot the bill? Cameron Kinsey from Tax Network USA joins me now to discuss how her team can help protect you from the IRS. Cameron, good to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks so much for having me on, Terrence.
Of course, it's always a pleasure. So I'm curious if you're hearing concerns from some of the people who are coming to you from help in terms of how the IRS is going to be weaponized against them during the current tax season.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We've had a lot of influx of calls just because it did start on January 27th. People want to file early and get ahead of it, and I recommend everybody watching today do so. But you're right, there are a lot of changes happening right now. We did also see news that Trump is trying to terminate the employment of 15,000 IRS agents. We're seeing a slow decrease and decline of government overreach of what we've seen for the past 4 years under the Biden-Harris administration. But basically, all I have to say to our audience today is we'll be around no matter what. Tax Network USA wants to be just a resource for you. It's a leading tax relief and resolution firm in the country. We've helped individuals and businesses navigate IRS issues from audits to back taxes, wage garnishments. So basically, to tell our audience, our team consists of experienced tax professionals, CPAs, attorneys that specialize in reducing tax burdens, negotiating with the IRS. So basically, you don't have to deal with that burden in the process of tax season.
The reality is that there's an adversarial relationship between the IRS and taxpayers. Typically, taxpayers, the layman, gets a little frightened about going up against the IRS, and that's really where Tax Network USA comes in. You're a buffer.
Yes, absolutely. We are basically a liaison between you and the IRS. I'm sure you've had to deal with instances yourself, Terrence, where you've been on hold for hours maybe, or you're getting the letters in the mail. So it's simple. It's a streamlined process with us. We start off the consultation to assess your financial situation and tax history. Then our experts handle the entire preparation process, ensuring you're getting every single deduction and credit you qualify for while staying compliant with the IRS regulations. And like I noted previously, with tax season officially underway as of January 27th, we do encourage everybody to file early, stay ahead to avoid unjust penalties and last-minute stress in this process.
How does one start the process? And as you said, start earlier than later.
Yes, getting started is super simple and easy with us. You can reach us at tnusa.com, or you can reach us at 1-800-905-8000. All of this is free consultation. We'll review your case, we'll explain your options, and create a plan tailored to your needs, whether it's tax prep, debt resolution, or just protection from aggressive IRS tactics that we've seen. We'll help you.
Cameron, are your services only beneficial for people who are ultimately going to owe taxes? Or if you're going to get a refund, can you benefit here as well?
Oh, absolutely. We deal with it. There's a variety of cases that we deal with, and also for the timeline really just depends on the complexity of your case as well. But we've helped resolve $1 billion in back taxes. We've helped clients from small business owners to individuals to married couples who are filing jointly. It really doesn't matter your case as long as you come with the right documents that we need. We will help you.
All right, and really quickly, for people who are interested, want more information, where can they go to find that?
Yeah, they can go to tnusa.com or call 1-800-905-8000, and then they can talk to somebody from our team directly.
All right, Cameron Kinsey joining us this afternoon. Always good to talk to you. We appreciate you being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And again, folks, the information is right there on your screen. Visit tnusa.com/RAV. You can get all the information you need there. The phone number is also there. Contact Tax Network USA, and hopefully you can get some help with any tax issues you might have. That's a quick check of your headlines here on RAV. We appreciate you being here.
Well, here we go again, lighting the fuse of another big hour of the Steve Gruber Show, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. That's what we do here. Defending this great nation of ours from the heart of the country. I'm glad you're along for the conversation. We've got three big things to start this hour. Number one, Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals has apparently put the last nail in the coffin of Joe Biden's reckless attempt to forgive billions in student loans, contrary to federal law. I'll have that for you in a moment. Number two, another court case and another win for the Trump administration and the people of Doge, and the government cutting agency appears to be cruising full speed ahead with another courtroom win. And number three, the Democrats continue to be completely tone deaf, and I mean completely tone deaf, when it comes to the success of Doge and Donald Trump as president. Now, people like the fact that Doge is cutting waste, is being found in just the first few weeks of their efforts, and these are astonishing numbers that should have all Americans angry. But for some, instead of praising the fact that they've found millions of dollars here and hundreds of thousands there and billions over here that should not have been spent at saving you money, instead of praising Elon Musk and praising Donald Trump for putting him in charge of this operation, for some, they want to attack President Trump. They want to smear Elon Musk. And with that in mind, President Trump yesterday was at Mar-a-Lago signing a couple of executive orders, but then he laid down a list of the wasteful spending while taking questions once again from the press. And here's something else we should be thankful for. Donald Trump standing up, taking questions. He would do it every single day. He takes questions at Mar-a-Lago. Then there's a big interview released last night, him and Musk, for a half an hour. It's so refreshing. It really is. I mean, he's calm, collected, on point. Unlike the last guy, he's competent and coherent. And it gives me great confidence that this president will continue to be successful, and with his agenda being delivered, his popularity will continue to remain very strong or even rise. His popularity right now in the mid to high 50s. And there are so many unbelievable expenditures that you could go through. We could go through this stuff for days, but I want to break down what he had to say yesterday, one piece at a time, and talk with you about it, because it is so mind-numbing as Donald Trump tore apart the reckless spending, for which there is no understanding or support, or there's no justification, is what I should say. None at all. Listen.
Where's the money being spent, right? Let's go into that for just a second. $520 million for a consultant on the environment. It's called Environmental, Social, and Governance Investments in Africa, and mobilize private sector resources. $520 million. Somebody got $520 million for an environmental. Sounds like an environmental study. That's the most. I've always been one that paid a lot of money for my environmental studies, but I paid like $50,000, not $520 million. $520 million for ESG. $25 million to promote biodiversity, conservation, and promote licit livelihoods by developing socially responsible behavior in the country of Colombia. Well, it's nice, $25 million to go into Colombia for something that nobody ever heard of.
And that's just the first couple of examples. $520 million. I'll take that consulting gig. ESG, an environmental consulting gig, $520 million as a consultant. What is that company hurting today? Whoever they are, they have these great plans for the future, grand plans to be consultants and flying in their private jets. They probably still are, because most of that $520 million probably fell to the bottom line of whatever nonprofit they were working for. $25 million for biodiversity in Colombia. And I appreciate the fact that Colombia needs biodiversity, but they don't need my $25 million to get there, I'm guessing. That's why this is so shocking. That's why President Trump here is going down the list, so you understand where your money's been going and what the Democrats are fighting for. The Democrats are fighting for these consultants to get another $520 million, for Colombia to get another $25 million. That's what the Democrats are fighting for. Not for you, not for your family, and not for your future. They're fighting for all this other garbage. And they do it every day, because they tell you this is a coup. Donald Trump pointing out $520 million went to these consultants on ESG and $25 million went to Colombia. Donald Trump pointing that out after Elon Musk and his team finds it. They're the bad guys, apparently. Unbelievable. The list goes on.
$40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. $40 million. $42 million for Johns Hopkins, great place, to research and drive social and behavior change in Uganda. $42 million. What about us? What about social change in our country? $70 million for a center at Purdue to research university-sourced, evidence-based solutions to developmental challenges. I mean, these are massive numbers on things that nobody ever heard about. $10 million for Mozambique voluntary medical male circumcisions. $10 million for circumcisions in another country. $9.7 million for UC Berkeley to develop a cohort of Cambodian youth with enterprise-driven skills. In other words, let's teach them something about enterprise. What about our people?
What about our people? What do we teach our kids about money? I can assure you it's something that Ivy and I talk about all the time. We don't teach our kids anything about money. We do. She does, I do, we do. But collectively, you go to a government school, they don't teach you about money and credit cards, compound interest, or how to invest in yourself, or how to get real estate in your name so that you can be prosperous down the road. No, they teach you how to plug into a system where you're a cog, and you plug in and you go to work for a company for 10 or 20 or 30 years, whatever it might be. We change jobs more often today than we used to, but you understand the point. They get you to plug into the system. Be a good little hamster. Run on the wheel. Do as you're told. Sit up. Finish your milk. Well, your almond milk, real milk, is cruel and mean to cows. Anyhow, this nonsense goes on. $40 million to study sedentary migrants. Let me get this straight. You want to spend $40 million to study lazy migrants? Really? This is how you're spending my money on some guy who came here to sit on his ass. Really? Tell you what, give me a little chunk of that. I'll sit on my ass. How about that for a deal? Huh? $40 million to study what's going on in Uganda. $10 million for circumcisions in Mozambique. Well, at least it's just a circumcision. We spent $2 million to cut it off completely down in Guatemala, so, it might be an improvement here. Less money and less damage. This list just goes on and on and on. It's remarkable. Really, it is. What about our people, he says, several times. We'll get back to Donald Trump going over the list of the money that's being spent in your name. Millions and billions, really, of dollars. Good morning. Welcome to the Steve Gruber Show. I'll be right back. All right, so what's disappointing, I was invited to be at that event in Mar-a-Lago yesterday. I was. But with all the running around, headed to CPAC for the balance of the week, okay? So I was going to D.C. I was in Scottsdale, Arizona at the end of last week into the weekend. I thought, well, it's just for this event. Trump probably won't be there. Then he shows up and signs all these executive orders. Well, I guess I missed my opportunity for this week. But the good news is this. Like I said, Donald Trump's out answering questions just about every day. And isn't that a refreshing change from where we've been? He doesn't need a prompter. He doesn't need handlers screaming at the press. No. All done. Everybody out. All that crap is over. Donald Trump will stand there and take questions as long as Donald Trump wants to stand there and take questions. His handlers know it. They don't try to get him out unless he's got a meeting. Maybe they'll try to move him along a little bit. But other than that, he'll sit there and he'll take all comers, which is good. So he continued the list. Here's more of that reckless spending. Listen to this.
$2.3 million for strengthening independent voices in Cambodia. $32 million to the Prague Civil Society Center, which is a very liberal group of people. Wonder how much of that money came back to the people that approved it. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $486 million to the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, including $22 million for inclusive and participatory political process in Moldova, and $21 million for voter turnout in India. Well, why are we giving $21 million to India? They got a lot of money. They're one of the highest taxing countries in the world in terms of us. We can hardly get in there because their tariffs are so high. I have a lot of respect for India. I have a lot of respect for the Prime Minister. He just left, as you know, 2 days ago. But we're giving $21 million for voter turnout. It's voter turnout in India.
$21 million for voter turnout in India. Listen, his voice is straight. In India. He's like, what are you kidding me? I'm so glad that he's back. By the way, it's been shown once again that Doge is legal. Right here, the plaintiffs failed to prove Doge access to federal data would cause the imminent harm. The legal proof needed for a temporary restraining order. They failed again, as a judge says no. And it's Judge Tanya Chutkin. Heard her name before, of course. Declined to grant the plaintiff's request to issue a temporary restraining order, saying what she said was the failure to demonstrate evidence of irreparable harm caused by Doge's access to this information. So Doge carries on. The president carries on. $486 million for election and DEI, including in Moldova. $486 million for Moldova. I bet you couldn't even find that on a map. I know where it is. Right next to Ukraine, by the way. I got a couple more examples. Here's more.
$20 million for fiscal federalism in Nepal. Listen to these numbers. This is all fraud. $19 million for biodiversity conservation in Nepal. $1.5 million for voter confidence. We want to give them confidence in Liberia. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali.
Yeah. In Mali, right? So here's the point that he made here that I think is the most remarkable of all of it. It's all fraud. It's all fraud. Of course it is. You're saying $20 million in Nepal? When it comes to electricity, the longer the line, the less efficient. You know anything about electricity, you know that. The longer the line, your transmission line, if it's real short, real good, juice gets from A to B. The longer you make that transmission line, the more of that electricity sheds, if you will. So it takes a lot more power in the front end to get a result at the back end. Same thing with money. This money it sheds along the way. Oh, here's a little something for you for making sure it gets there. A little something for you. A little big something for you. And it's all your tax dollars being shed. And let's see here. In Uganda, Mozambique, Cambodia, Nepal, Moldova, India. It never ends. One more example. Here it is.
$2.5 million for inclusive democracies in South Africa. $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well. They're doing a lot better than we do in the schools, aren't they? $2 million to develop sustainable recycling models to increase socioeconomic cohesion among marginalized communities in Kosovo. And Escali, and in Egypt. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. I could. By the way, I could read this all day long. I could go on all day long.
He's right about that.
And you see,
he could go on all day long, and so could we. And I mean, honestly, this is literally just the tip of the iceberg, financially speaking. Wait until they get to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and the folks that are listed at being 150 years old and older on the Social Security rolls. Millions of dollars apparently flowing in that direction. Oh, and by the way, he had something to say about the age of people on Social Security. One more note from the president. Here it is.
From 120 years old, people that are 120 years old up to 129, 3,472,000 people. Wow. You know, that can't possibly be, because the record is like, I think it's one person, a woman, lived to 127, but they have 3,472. Okay, but now we're going really.
Yeah, and it just goes on. The oldest person ever to live, I believe, is a French woman, 122. That's about the only thing he got even marginally mistaken on that entire list. Not wrong about any of it. Again, South Africa, Asia, Nepal, Colombia, Moldova, Cambodia, Mozambique, Uganda. They're just shoveling money out the door. It's absolute insanity, folks. It's absolute insanity. We need to stop it right now. All right? I'll take a break and be right back on the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so this task force I was telling you about, these Republican rebels, Anna Pauline Luna, Lauren Boebert, Tim Burkett, Eli Crane, just to name a few of these folks, right? They will lead the explosive panel formerly known as the Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets. It will operate under the Oversight Committee and its chair, Jim Comer of Kentucky. These folks are here to get it done. Let's see. A government cloaked in secrecy has been a tool for control, said Congressman Burleson. Luna pledged to seek truth and transparency in a written statement announcing the task force last week. She pledged to give Americans the answers they deserve on the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy and the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jeffrey Epstein's client list, COVID-19, UAPs, that being UFOs, and anything left on September the 11th, terror attacks. They're going to try to dig into all of this, folks. All of it, this task force. I, for one, say hallelujah. Let's do this. Pretty excited about this, actually. Pretty excited. Now, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes, they say. And if we don't learn from it, we make mistakes again. That's why Hillsdale College is offering a free course on totalitarian novels. In just 8 lectures, Hillsdale President Larry Arnn will guide you through 4 classic books: 1984, Brave New World, Darkness at Noon, and The Hideous Strength. These stories aren't just fiction, they're warnings. Warnings. They show us what happens when power goes unchecked and why defending faith, family, and freedom is now more important than ever. Make the most of your time. Start learning today. Go right now to GruberforHillsdale.com to enroll. There's no cost. Easy to get started. That's GruberforHillsdale.com. Register for free. GruberforHillsdale.com, and you can get started now. Coming up after the break, my friend Larry Alex Taunton will be here. You know, the guy that has gone to Davos on our behalf, the world traveling spy for the Gruber Show. Yeah, he's there. He was in Cairo getting examined closely by the secret police before he got out of the country just in time. It's true, as he's looking into USAID spending. Trust me, it's no better than the list that Donald Trump just went through. Larry Alex Taunton after the break. You don't want to miss it here on the Steve Gruber Show. All right, I want to dive right into this one because we don't have a lot of time. Not enough anyhow. Larry Alex Taunton is here, award-winning author, freelance columnist, and as of late, a globe-trotting spy for the Steve Gruber Show, which we greatly appreciate. Larry, welcome back to the program.
How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. I think you're in the Czech Republic today still. We did an event here. If you guys missed it, we'll do this again because it was so much fun. We did a Spaces event on X, which is basically just a place where we can all come in and talk. We did it for like almost an hour and a half, had people coming in asking questions about your experiences in Cairo and elsewhere, and man, it was good for everybody. We'll do that again in the future, but I want you to sum up your experiences in Cairo. We've only got a few minutes for this. You went there to figure out how USAID was doing in Cairo, and you found a bunker-type place, a place like a military base. I mean, this place, I've seen the videos. You've got them posted on your Twitter account. Remarkable how enforced this place is. And it makes you wonder, they're not giving out food and water. Doesn't look like the way it looks like a place that would be moving nuclear weapons. Anyhow, tell the folks about your experience, Larry.
Yeah, well, just as you put it, Steve, I went to USAID Cairo, the United States Agency for International Benevolence, the government equivalent of, say, Samaritan's Purse. That's what they're supposed to be. And I decided to go by that office the way I might go by a consulate or a U.S. embassy where they would allow me in. And if I were to go into those kind of places and say, what do you do? I think I'd get a reasonable answer to the question. But on this occasion, I went by USAID, asked, are you guys complying with the President of the United States public order to shut down? And I went to DEFCON 1 quite rapidly. And there were efforts to seize the car that I was in. They detained me. They were considering arresting me, but it went quickly from USAID security, which is paid for by your tax dollars and mine, to Cairo police, and then I was handed off to the Egyptian Homeland Security, sometimes called the National Security Agency,
so I am confused,
which is a secret police.
People think of USAID, at least the Democrats on the left say that we are killing children. We're baby killers because we're trying to defund USAID. We are baby killers because of this. But if they were there to feed babies and put out sacks of grain and get running water, in Egypt or wherever they are in the region there, if that's their headquarters, why would they treat you like you're a spy? I mean, I joke about you being a spy, but you go out and you find things and you put your eyes on stuff. But they really did treat you like a spy, didn't they?
They did, and in a sense, Steve, you could say that I am a spy, but I'm not doing ninja stuff. I'm not going through a ventilation in the building. I'm not jumping over walls. I walk straight past their security, greeted their security. They let me through, and then I continued on into the building. And when the Egyptian secret police tried to suggest first that I was a terrorist, and then secondly that I was guilty of some kind of espionage, I indicated to them, because they said you can't take pictures of Egyptian government buildings. I said I didn't take any pictures of Egyptian government buildings. This is an American building, and I'm an American taxpayer. But this became quite tense, Steve. They were wanting to go through my phone, take my passport, seize the car, trying to get me to sign a document. They would not allow my translator to translate from Arabic, Steve, which is pretty amazing, kind of stuff. I politely refused on all counts, went through the process of firing off videos to friends before I deleted them and before they could look at my phone. And then they discovered there was nothing on my phone and they let me go. But this is pretty startling stuff. Came to my hotel the next day.
Here's the thing, Larry, I want to bring them up to speed on this one point here. They let you go, and this was after you were there twice. First time, they let you into the building, kind of looked around the office, asked some questions, and all the bells and alarms go off. Oh, who is this guy? Why is he asking questions? He shouldn't be here. Second time you came back, they knew who you were. Boom, facial recognition, boom. This is the guy that we didn't want here in the first place. He's back. Watch your phone, want to stop you, thinking about arresting you, bring in the secret police, all of that. So you're like, well, let's get a little warm here. So you slide out of Cairo. But then you find out that not long after you had left town, they came through your hotel room. They would look through everything. They ransacked the place, didn't they?
That's absolutely right, Steve. I was told by friends that they had come to the hotel. They were questioning staff about me, interrogating people as to who I had met, who I might know. They began searching the vehicle, potentially planting evidence. Who knows what they were looking for? But they searched the vehicle thoroughly. And fortunately, by that time, I knew that it was time for me to get out of the country. This isn't my first rodeo. I've been through this in China. I've been through it in Russia. I've been through it in Cuba. And I realized I got to get out of here. And so I did.
Yeah, your gut's saying, hey, time to catch a plane. Time to go. Yeah. All right. So let me go back to your conclusions. We got about 2.5 minutes left here. Again, if you walk into a place that is supposedly, giving sacks of grain and teaching people to bake bread and get running water and get school books for children that would otherwise not learn anything, I wouldn't expect this kind of response. They'd say, hey, yeah, here's what we're doing. Here are the books we're giving away. Look at the grain we've got for those poor starving children. Look, we've got new water filters over here. What do you draw as a conclusion, having looked at a place that looks like a military bunker, that doesn't seem to be doing the humanitarian things that you'd be led to believe, and treats you literally like a spy? What are your conclusions thus far?
Well, as you and I were discussing last night, Steve, if what they're doing, if what is beyond those walls is powdered milk and rice and grain that they're distributing to the poor, what do they care what I see? So when they were initially trying to suggest I was a terrorist, I think they knew that the idea of a white Presbyterian from America, they don't have a habit of flying planes at the size of buildings, that wasn't going to stick. So they started to go with the espionage angle, but that was problematic for them as well, and I knew it, and I was trying to force their hand, because to say that I was guilty of espionage is to admit that there's something beyond those walls, beyond rice and grain. And so that was difficult for them. What I think is this. I think that Egypt is one of the biggest recipients of USAID monies. I think that they're a nefarious organization, quite possibly a front for CIA, because this is the way an intelligence agency operates. And I say that, Steve, as a guy who's been on nuclear bases, grew up on military bases. I know what security looks like, and this was odd. I wouldn't get this at an embassy.
You wouldn't get this kind of scrutiny at an embassy. I mean, they had you under the magnifying glass, and obviously they had more questions after you left Egypt because they came and, rifled through your room. So good work, Larry. Way to stir things up. Way to kick the beehive. That's what we appreciate about you. Kick it hard. Larry, I appreciate that. All right, where are you off to next? You're in Prague right now. What's next? We got about 20 seconds.
I think maybe for my own safety, quite literally, I won't say that yet, Steve.
All right.
But I'll tell you privately where I'm headed next. But I'm not headed home to the United States just yet.
2 or 3 more beehives to kick on the way. I got it. Larry Alex Taunton, you can follow him on X, Twitter. I do. You can find those videos of his experiences in Cairo. Pretty interesting stuff there. Larry, thank you for all you do.
Hey, good to see you, my friend. Take care.
Good to see you. All right. So he's off to some adventure somewhere. Hopefully he'll make it through. Big part of the program. We appreciate him. It is the Steve Gruber Show. I'll be right back. All right. Well, my next guest says it's snowing where he is. Well, it never stops snowing where we are, it seems. I mean, winter is real and real upset this time around. Dr. James Thorpe with me. He is the chief of maternal and prenatal health at the Wellness Company. Doctor, nice to have you back on the program.
Thanks for having me on, Steve.
Where are you that it's snowing so much?
I am in southwest Missouri at a 2-week hospital assignment.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's snowing here. I'll tell you, it's been a real winter. Somebody notify Al Gore, please. At any rate, sir, nice to have you here. The Wellness Company. You got a brand new release, by the way, a book, Sacrifice, right? Now available at Amazon, Barnes and Noble. What is Sacrifice? Tell me about it.
Sacrifice: how the deadliest vaccine in history targeted the most vulnerable. This is going to be a huge blockbuster, and it elucidates the sham of the COVID-19 and the extensive clinical experience and research and what I saw with my own eyes. And the co-author is Celia Farber, and I'm really blessed because all of the proceeds, every dime, is going to the Wellness Company, who has provided a fund, and they're going to match all my donations, and every dime will go to the COVID-19 vaccine injured.
So let me ask you about this. They have been peddling, they being, the big pharmacy folks, the Democrats, the corporate media, peddling this thing about bird flu for months now. And in fact, the USDA has now granted conditional license for bird flu vaccine for the chickens. I think they've got this vaccine all ready to put in your arm and mine. I won't be stepping into line, by the way. But they're all ready to cash in on this deal, aren't they? And that's the operative part of it. They're going to cash in. I think follow the money. Am I wrong?
You're spot on. This is going to be a disaster, and this has been planned for 10 years. And Steve, you know it, and I know it. The gain of function research has been proven. And it's, by the way, we should point out that we were threatened just 3 months ago, right? That this was going to break out by none other than Dr. Peter Hotez, right? So this is on the playbook. This is what they do.
Yeah, exactly what they do. All right, so let me ask you about this. There's a new day here in America. When COVID came, you were silenced. Big voices sounds like you and others that come here. Robert Malone silenced, Peter McCullough silenced, I was silenced, anybody, it didn't matter. Big to small, silence them all. That was basically the idea. If you didn't walk lockstep with masking and vaccines and 6 feet of separation and closing schools and destroying business, you were the enemy. We know that's not the truth anymore, but man, did they blow it. They blew it, didn't they? Honestly, I mean, the deadliest vaccine in history targeted the most vulnerable. We know that. But they blew it by throwing this out too early and not getting the result they wanted, because now if they try this pandemic card, it's flu, it's this, it's Ebola, whatever they throw on the table, people like you and I are going to go, wait a second, we're not buying that. And we're just, even if, here's the crazy thing, they put more people at risk, because if something came along, doctor, that was truly dangerous, we're still going to go, I don't want the vaccine. They've totally screwed everything up, haven't they?
They shot themselves in the foot, and they also clarified to all the American people how corrupt our government is. And by the way, Deborah Birx just the other day admitted that she was wrong, that early therapy worked. So at least that's a partial vindication of you, Steve, and me, and the rest of us.
Yeah, well, and we've talked about this. It's the only time that I can point to any time in my lifetime where they said, if you come in, you're really sick. Yeah, you're not really that sick. Come back when you're really sick. I was in church on Sunday. Young man was up there giving his sermon, did a very nice job, by the way. And he talked about his grandfather getting COVID. And then they put him on the ventilator. And I'm like, I said, I know how this story's going to end. And it did. He died because if he went on the ventilator, the mortality rate was plus 90%. The ventilators weren't helping people. They were killing people, weren't they?
That's absolutely right. But they were a huge profit. That individual brought in $200,000 for that hospital that killed him.
Why?
$200,000.
Why would we pay so now we're watching as all these curtains get pulled back, exposing where we're spending money. The whole first part of the program today was going through Donald Trump going through a list of money being spent. We spent money, the American taxpayer, to buy those ventilators that had a plus 90% mortality rate. We got stuck with a bill to kill our own people, didn't we?
Well, yeah, it gets worse. Actually, that money didn't go to the ventilators. That $200,000 went to bribe the hospitals for every escalation in the diagnosis, and finally putting an autopsy diagnosis of COVID-19 on the death certificate. That bribe amounted to $200,000 per patient.
So how many millions of dollars or billions of dollars? I mean, my math is good, but I can't rack that up that fast. How much money do you think was spent on this effort?
Well, in terms of bribing the hospitals, they were bribed in so many ways. $186 billion, and my research team and I published that last year. $186 billion was just used to bribe the hospitals to follow the protocol. Now, it's a whole separate source of money that was used to reimburse the hospitals through the false diagnosis. Anytime they admitted a patient for COVID-19, anytime they put them in an ICU, anytime they used remdesivir, if they upped it to a ventilator, and finally, if they put the diagnosis on the death certificate, even if they died in a motorcycle accident, that's a
Well, we saw that happen here. One of the first cases I flagged on this program was a suicide by gunshot here in Macomb County. And the medical examiner was forced to put on death by COVID because the gentleman that committed suicide had an uncle that was hospitalized at the time with COVID. They put COVID down as a death by gunshot. Peter, Doctor, I appreciate you being here. Dr. James Thorpe from the Wellness Company. You can find out more about the Wellness Company, twc.health/Gruber, twc.health/Gruber. Treat yourself ahead of time, not after the fact. Doctor, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on, Steve.
Really appreciate you. All right, I'm sitting here, and I told you this was going to happen. The ice cover on the Great Lakes is rocketing up now. It went up 5% from the 17th to the 18th. It's always one day behind, right? So as of yesterday, 38% total ice cover, but Lake Erie is right up there at 90% ice covered. And you look at the map, it looks like it's 100%, but apparently it's 90%, right? Finally, the ice is taking off across Lake Huron significantly. Lake Michigan continues to be open for the most part, but over the next 2 or 3 days, we could hit the maximum for the year. We'll see. I'm looking at the snow cover at my northern compound. I'm going to have to dig my way into the house. Good Lord, the cameras are going to have to dig my way into the house. I was just saying that because Dr. Thorpe there in Missouri, so they had a lot of snow. Well, let me tell you something. A lot of places in America getting a lot of snow this year. Now, it's probably an average winter, really. The average ice cover on the Great Lakes comes in at about 50%, just slightly less than that. Average ice cover on Lake Erie is about 60%. Like I say, it's at 90%. For some reason, Lake Erie is running way above. It's an overachiever right now. Lake Erie is a big overachiever right now, and it's real winter. I have fun watching these things. I do. I enjoy watching and figuring out what's happening. All right. This part of the program brought to you by Exodus. Are you tired of being in pain? Well, try ExodusNow.com. Exodus is a natural holistic supplement that combines 2,000 years of ancient wisdom with modern science. It features 7 biblical ingredients and has frankincense, myrrh, cumin, paired with the groundbreaking benefits of molecular hydrogen. I take it. I do. I like it. It's designed to soothe joint and muscle discomfort, boost your energy. That's what it does for me, and clears my head. It also reduces inflammation. If you're living with chronic inflammation, you're not alone, but you don't have to suffer anymore. Do this. Try ExodusNow.com. Go there now. Try ExodusNow.com. Take a look. Doesn't cost you anything to look. You can learn about this. It works for me. That's what I can tell you. All right, coming up the next hour, workforce shortages. The Democrats will tell you that's because we're throwing illegals out of the country. I think there's more to it. Tim Young will be here, comedian, host, speaker, author. Doge and the news of the day with Tim Young coming up in the next hour as well. This is the Steve Gruber Show. I'll be back in a moment.